Yeah,
Well,
but he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, he another one he couldn't make it to. But Chris is always on a mission, like a good mission, like
right.
When he can't be here with us. I don't know if you guys know this, but the name Christopher means bearer of Christ because it's in his heart, and he truly believes that. And it's been a rough week for him, even during Lent here, where we experienced the loss of a martial arts icon. And as you guys know, Chris was a black belt in karate and Jim Kata, I think too, wasn't it? Like Jim, some of those guys. And
Cobra Kai.
He's definitely had a rough week for this. So he's in the mourning process, maybe like dealing with it. Where is he? Where did he go to, Scott?
It's the Martial Arts History Museum in California, I believe, is where he's going to. He's like making a pilgrimage there, I believe.
Because he thinks
laying
that
down
Chuck
flowers.
Norris is. Yeah, right. He thinks Chuck Norris is actually buried there, right? Kind of a thing. It's
right, but
returning his body,
right? Like Lazarus, but
he's going there to see if he can rise him from the dead. Like obviously the readings from this week, the fifth week of Lent, if you're Catholic at least, is the story of Lazarus, which is like when you're in Mass, it's like a 40-minute reading. It's a great story. Obviously, it's one of the 7 miracles that they talk about associated with Christ, particularly at this time in his life. But Chris is going there to kind of call Chuck Norris out. Rise, Chuck. Rise. He's actually going to say, "Rise, Walker." Walker, Texas Ranger.
But it has to be 4 days. It hasn't been 4 days.
Maybe, perhaps he is. I'm
Him
sure.
And Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, it's Chris is like I said, he's not going to be here today, folks, because he's got some other business to tend to. We're just assuming that it's that because he doesn't. It's like Christ disappeared for a while and his apostles had no idea what was going on. This is kind of similar to that. So hopefully we'll find out. You'll be the first to know if Chuck Norris rises again. Right,
you heard it here first.
Right. His passing is sad, though. That's for sure. That guy was an icon. A lot of people walked.
So many memes.
But watched him from when he was an Air Force vet, which you didn't know that. But he was an Air Force vet that got into martial arts when he was overseas, developed his own style of martial arts, and then was recruited by Bruce Lee to be in the Dragon series.
And his own hairpieces too.
Yeah, right. And that dyed beard that he had was all Bruce Lee's idea, to be honest with you, because the Asians really struggle to have facial hair. But he got that done. But the best scene was when Bruce Lee ripped off his chest hair. Bruce Lee ripped off Walker Texas Ranger's chest hair. That's why he never went shirtless in Walker Texas Ranger, because it was just so
it was too traumatic.
Anyway.
Well, now that we've addressed that, Chris, we miss you. We'll see you next time. But
yeah, right.
What we've done today is actually replaced a cop with a fireman. So it's like a 2 cops and a fireman talk today. So
right.
So our friend and our guest today is John Sullivan, the one and only John Sullivan, who I have known for probably over a decade now. And John just recently retired from a west suburban fire department out here, not too far from where we were at, and retired after a long fire service career as a battalion chief. And so, we always talk about police and fire rivalry and all the stuff that goes on. And there's always like so many jokes. I mean, they go back, I think, to the dawn of time. And John and I have always had a good go at the police and fire jokes. But we want to talk somewhat about that, but also like really how we do rely on each other as first responders and some of those things that happen, and definitely how much. And I've even seen it just from the stories I hear from John about how much things have changed in the fire service just over those last 10 years even. So he's a great person to enlighten us on some of this and also talk about some interesting stuff he's doing now in the retirement world.
Absolutely.
So, John, welcome. Long time no see.
Yeah. Congrats on the retirement, by the way, for making it.
Yeah, thank you.
For surviving.
Thanks for having me.
For surviving.
You bet.
Yeah, still feels John, a little bit like vacation.
Right. It's that it's that in between kind of period, and then but then those mailbox checks start coming, and it's like, all right, this is all right. So
yeah,
tell everybody real quick, give everybody your background. How'd you get into the fire service, and kind of some highlights of what you did over your career?
Well, thank you. First, it's pleasure to be here. It's never easy to replace a police officer, that's for sure. Happy to be here on the new name of the show.
Still got it.
Right. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. So I started in '95 as a volunteer at a volunteer fire department, and kind of fell in love with it, and then found out you can actually get paid to do this too. So I had a 30-year career that never felt like a day of work in a lot of ways. But kind of like in the 90s, how we all started out, the fire service was about certifications and check boxes, not so much about degrees and college. That actually came later in the middle of my career. But went to paramedic school and worked on every state certification I could get. And then in 2000 got hired full time, and found out that you actually get paid to have fun with your buddies every day at work, and occasionally go on some calls and help people. But it was crazy. Just you see a lot of different things over the years, and it's definitely changed from the list of hundreds of people on it to today, where recruitment is a struggle. And there's sometimes, I think one of our lists had like 6 guys on it once, where it used to be hundreds. So
yeah, which is scary.
That's one of the biggest challenges. Who if nobody's there to call. And when I was in the volunteer days, when we would stay at the station, we used to have to wait 6 minutes before we could leave in the fire engine to make sure enough people showed up. Yeah. And then fast forward to the last day, we're like, there's a timer going off, and if you're not out the door in 60 seconds, you're getting written up and in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, that's progressed.
But if nobody takes a test anymore, signs up for the job, how long are you going to wait when you call 911 for, when you're having chest pain or your house is on fire?
Right.
So,
well, I mean, it's funny story you say that, because when I got out of the Army, I was like, well, I'm going to go into public service, public safety service. And I was like, man, firemen, they got a lot of cool gear, cool stuff. It's like harkens back to when you're a little kid and you're playing with stuff in the backyards. Like the fireman toy kits always had all the cool stuff, like way more than the cops. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then I called the place, the Police and Fire Commission Board secretary, and I'm like, well, I see both are tested. What do you think? And she's asked me about my background. I had a degree, I'd served, I'd been an officer in the Army at that point. And I was like, fire sounds pretty cool. And she's like, nah, it's going to take you way too long to become a fireman at this point. And I was like really surprised by that. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, there's no college requirement. They're like, no, but here are all the things that we expect of a firefighter or somebody that wants to be a firefighter. You got to be like EMS certified. You got to be all of these things. And I was like, well, how long would that take? And she's like, well, that's going to be at least another 2.5, 3 years if you got into it right now and started doing it. So you're not bullshitting about it. I mean, in a lot of ways, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a big proponent of college so much anymore. I think it's a tremendous waste of money for things that you definitely in public safety learn on the job and doing with your hands, like a trade. And the fire guys, I mean, to be honest with you, from my experience with them, they're always learning. They're always like together doing something, whether it be working out, working on gear, working on a skill. And depending upon where you work in the country, it's both medical and like structure, repelling, fire. I mean, you name it. If you're looking to get into some stuff and you're a pretty technical person, the fire side's way, way better to help you scratch that itch, to be honest with you.
It's called the fire department, but there was a time where a lot of people said we should change the name to the EMS department, because that's like 80%, sometimes 90% of what you do. But the fact is, the new term being thrown around, which I hate from the tradition standpoint, but it's like all hazards agency. I mean, it's water rescue, it's ice rescue, it's technical rescue, like confined space and trench and rope rescue, hazardous materials, and all that. And what happens is, when there's a problem in the world, they call 911, and we, the police and fire department, and sometimes EMS is separate, but fire, police, EMS, we show up first, and we've got to figure it out. Because those big plans, those take hours and days and weeks to put those big plans in place that you see. Right. So it's us together.
Well, and you guys, I mean, the one thing that was always super beneficial to me, especially at the end of my career when I was doing special event stuff, was all that incident command structure stuff, because I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of training to get through all those classes. Some of them are not the most interesting, but I always felt better when I took an ICS class and there were mostly firemen in the room, because then I just end up like being the scribe, because these guys knew the actual, like well, you're under this,
Right.
Here's where you'll come into the plan and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, those guys helped me do probably 75% of those incident action plans that we would do for those special events. Cause those guys just, the firefighters were always so good about having the comms laid out and the equipment needed and just all of that kind of stuff and backup plan, you know?
Yeah. And those ICS classes, when they finally came about, were pretty easy for most of the firemen I know, because it's just been ingrained in us in the beginning, because we are a little bit smarter than police in this respect, because we actually know how to change the channel on the radio. The police, they can't do that. They just are, they're a single channel all day long. They do not know how to change the channel. And we actually can not only change the channel, but we can use two channels at one time. And so what happens is we set a guy up.
Sorcery.
We set a guy up to take command, and that guy's in charge of that scene, and he actually stays out front and has some command and control. And I'm sure in the military there was command and control somewhere, right? So
everywhere.
Police, you guys much. Are more like Chuck Norris cowboys, you know, running in, and somebody's got to establish it. And so we've gotten really good at that over the years. And I think we've done a good job of partnering with the police to train them and help with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were doing so much, there's so much more of that now than there was 20 years ago. I mean, it was like, everybody'd show up and it's kind of like what they're doing one thing, we're doing one thing, but now it's like even the training together is so much better because you have a better appreciation for what each side is doing. You know what I mean? And when everybody's like on the same page and dealing with these types of situations, there's no like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what they're supposed to do. You know, everybody's working together as a team.
You know, when we were fortunate enough to get invited a few years in a row to go to the city of Chicago for some training, and it was on like complex coordinated attacks and overwhelming incidents that overwhelm your resources. And so they invited the suburban agencies because Chicago will get and can get and regularly gets overwhelmed. They're just because of Chicago doesn't mean they don't get overwhelmed. But it was the first joint SOP between police and fire in the city of Chicago, and the first joint training was, it was actually pre-COVID, but right about that time frame when it started out. And we learned a lot there by just working together and talking together. And I was fortunate. I actually brought a lot of that back. So I would get with the sergeants and the things like that at my department, at the police department, and we would talk about the simplest thing is parking. That's been my pet peeve.
Yeah.
And this
staging areas, right.
Well, not even staging. It could be somebody having a baby. It could be an active shooting incident. Parking is critical. And the police need to park on one side of the street, and the fire trucks need to park on the other side of the street. And then you need to leave the middle lane open for the ambulances because they tend to show up and then want to leave.
Right.
To go to the hospital.
Which is a good thing.
And
right.
And it doesn't matter which side you pick. Yeah, it doesn't matter what. It's the simplest thing, but I bet you guys will laugh. You're like, oh my God, you're right. The police cars, they're all over the place, right?
Yeah.
If they would just park behind the first one that got there and stay that way, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Right.
And the fire trucks just pick the other side. You know what I mean? Right. It doesn't matter which side. It's the simplest
I mean, when you think about it,
it
makes perfect sense.
You're like, this training took 5 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for attending. You park on one side, we park on the other.
And let's decide what's a fire priority call, and let's decide what's a police priority call.
Right,
you know, and where you're going to park. You know.
And that's what this training provided too, that guidance to the commanders and the officers of the fire department, the police department in Chicago, because actually they're most often joint, but for a little while it might be a fire incident, and then it transitions to a police incident. It might transition back to a fire incident, if there's a bomb threat, it's a police incident to investigate until it goes boom. Then it's a fire incident to handle patients and put the fire out. And as soon as that's done, it's back to a police incident to investigate. And you can't have this.
It's very intertwined.
This headbutting. You got to be on the same page.
And what folks don't understand that are outside of our world, and this is for our listeners to better understand, is that, cops work alone generally. Most agencies, particularly most officers, work in like suburban level agencies or, rural areas where you show up by yourself and you got to do all these things on your own. And there's a million things you got to think of. What I always envied for the firefighters, even if it was just an ambulance that was showing up, there was two of them that were kind of discussing work and whatever. If you ever work with a partner in a car as a cop, you get that. Like Scott and I worked as partners for a while. And after a while, like I've always joked, like we're communicating with each other like ants. It's just understood. We don't have to say anything. Fire shows up. They have a command structure instructor, even with just a pump truck, like one that's going to put water on a fire. The lieutenant's wearing the white hat. You know who that guy is. He's in charge. She's in charge. And then he's got 3 other officers that are working, and they have specific jobs that they have to do. And it's like really, like, it was to me, very familiar from the military, as John had referred to. And I was like, we need more of that. We need more of that in the police world, where a sergeant isn't, well, I've got this zone that I'm worried about, but I'm mostly in the station approving reports, and I just got to rely on my guys to get there and figure out what's going on. Well, when you're alone, you're a lot more amped than you are when you're with a team, and your teammates can kind of tell you that, whether they like you or not. They're all in it together. Their job is infinitely harder in the sense of, like, it's unforgiving, like a fire or death is at your door. Their job is like, shit, man, we got to get on this because it could get way, way worse. So you kind of really need that, where our job is like, barking dogs, things like that. And then it kind of transcends everything we do. And to me, when we first started working the fire side through Thames and SWAT, I was literally like, again, wow, these guys are all out here. And this was about 12 years into my career. Like, this is how you all operate? I mean, this is how you guys go to work every single day and do what you got to do. I was amazed by it and really, really appreciated it, and tried to incorporate it as much as I could back into our work with active shooter, rescue task force, all of these things you hear people talking about. The fire side really, really made that better for us, because I'm knocking our own guys, but like when we started doing carries for mass casualty incidents, like we would do it the hardest way possible, hurting people's backs, blowing people's up. The firemen showed up one day and they're like, they're in this room and there's a bunch of chairs with wheels on them. And they're like, put these people in the chairs and just roll them down the hallway. You'll be that much better off. And we won't have to exfil your fat, sorry ass. You know what I mean? That's what they were looking at. I was like, they're geniuses. They use the resources around
they've known this all along.
Who are these superheroes? And they're like, get off their tip, Ferguson. I'm like, no, man, you got to watch these guys. They're amazing. And it was great. I mean, honestly. Yeah,
you give a process to a bunch of firemen, we'll break the process and come up with the biggest shortcut you've ever seen, so we can get back and make dinner.
But from everything from exfilling, the wounded, talking to people just to kind of calm them down, to get their heart rates down, so they could actually treat them and get what needed to be done, to like breaching. Like, you want to learn breaching? Don't talk to a guy that's a silverback ape that walks in with this black pipe and smashes the door. Talk to the smallest fireman you got that understands that a Halligan is way better to open things. Like, it's a universal tool to get into any structure that you need to get into, and you're using the least amount of work to do it. I was like, man, they're right. I did get in the wrong fucking line. You know what I mean? Because they would always bust me out about that when we were signing up. Anyway, but that was to me the greatest part of that.
That's one of the jokes, right? What do policemen and firemen have in common? They both want to be firemen.
So let me ask you this, like, and I know we've talked about this, offline before, but like the big thing that has changed so much in police work is dealing with all these mental health issues and these mental health crises, and we, talked about when we started, you had a person having a mental health issue, you try to talk to them, but then if it's decided they're going to the hospital, the medics show up, they get strapped onto the gurney, they're gone, and you're basically done. But that has come such a long way
Unless
now.
The medic said, we're not taking them.
Right.
And then you're like,
and they're just left standing in the parking lot. Right. But it has changed so much from the police perspective, and all these, I could probably count on one hand when I was new, if I even knew what an involuntary petition was. And now I feel like involuntary petitions have become literally a regular piece of police work that you're, something you're doing on a regular basis. So how much of that did you guys experience, and what changes did you see with that? Like, whether it was response, training, all of the above?
Yeah, it's been in the 30 years I was in the fire service, I've seen it go from like zero to a peak and then like right back down, so to speak. And I don't mean the volume calls. The volume calls keep going up, but the way we handle it, we definitely learned from our experiences, because things were a little more rough and tumble early on in the career. It was just, you're going on this cot, and that's what's going to happen. And then, and then it's changed into, well, first off, are police and firemen the best social workers? I mean, come on, we're not trained. We have very little training in that, even today, compared to what you really need to deal with a mental health crisis. But then the mental health professionals are not trained in paramedic and police work either. And so there's
Right.
it's probably the next big crossover, but it's definitely challenging because it went from where, okay, well, we know that this is going to happen and they have to go to the hospital and we're going to basically put them on the cot and maybe even restrain them and things along those lines to today. It's like, well, I'm not going to deal with it. You're not going to deal with it. We call the hospital and the hospital says, well, you really should bring them in, but we're not going to make you. And then all of a sudden we all leave.
Right.
And then we're back in an hour. And
right.
We're back in an
Left
hour.
with
and
the
then
mess.
it
right.
transpired. And that's exactly what happened. One of the last calls that I was on where it transpired pretty significantly into a lot of shooting and gunfire, but fortunately nobody was critically injured, but police officers were shot, houses were shot up, and this gentleman finally, after firing hundreds of rounds, came out and laid down his weapons, and the police looked like they lost a balloon. He came out, but but that's the outcome you're looking for, right? But
right, absolutely,
it was. Could it have been avoided if we could have helped the guy earlier in the evening or the night before or weeks before, months before? You just don't know.
Well, like we've said so many times, it falls at the feet of the police and fire because these people have been failed by so many other avenues, whether it's, lack of facilities, lack of treatment, whatever it is. And next thing you know, we're the ones there dealing with somebody who's been struggling with mental health issues for days, months, years, a lifetime. And it's like, well, you guys got to do something here and, take care of it.
And how does that affect our mental health also?
Right.
25,
right.
30 years
Absolutely.
of doing this job. And, I think PTSD is a real thing. I don't think it's talked about enough. It's getting talked about more in the fire service, but that we're big, tough, macho guys in the firehouse, right? Guys and girls, but that's a real thing too. And you, Shaun, you have military experience. So this is something I've never really asked too many of my military friends this yet, but if you go away and you see a lot of bad shit in a war for months on end, maybe years, you don't go straight home. I'm guessing like you get processed, you hang out in Germany for a little bit and then you go back to base and then and you have some de-escalation and some return to normalcy.
Recovery
you're a fireman,
time.
You're on duty for 24 hours. You could see all kinds of shit. It doesn't matter. But at 8 a.m., you get off shift and you go home and you open the door and your wife is handing you a baby because she's just been dealing with that for 24 hours.
Right. You've been gone.
You're just supposed to be normal for 2 days and then go right back to work. So, I mean, our own mental health is a realistic concern, and that's something that's drastically changed as well from when I started to where we are now. I don't think I would have talked about it on a podcast at all 10 years ago.
Right. Well, and to your point, I mean, the story that you were just referencing, I remember when you called me and were telling me about that, because that was week before you announced your retirement. And
a week after I just announced
a week after. So it was like, you're coming up to the end here, right? And you survived all this.
If you didn't say anything, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
And John's texting me. He's like, hey, did you see this thing that happened, this guy? And I was actually aware of it, from the, being notified from the police side.
Police response.
It was a huge incident. And this guy,
and Merritt.
And this guy's shooting. And here's John tells me, hey, I was at this thing, fire's there because they're going to try to get this guy out and this and that. Next thing you know, the guy's shooting out of the house and John's getting back to his car like, holy shit. And that's the kind of stuff that people, those are the things that firefighters are experiencing nowadays. It's crazy.
But who did the police have to send running out to me? The social worker that they had there. Right. For her own safety, because she's not.
Right.
Yeah.
She's not, the situation changed. But the interoperability between police and fire there, the fact that the fire guys were staging, because we got called for something different, right? We got called for like an outside fire or something. It didn't come in. Nothing comes in the way it is, right? But
right.
But they ended up they were told to stage because we're the second responders and you're the first responders, and but we had an awareness because we were able to listen to the radio. We were able to listen to the police radio, and even in a world where there's discussion about encryption, and we still have to have some interoperability with each other and share that radio a little bit. So we had an awareness of what was going on. So we knew how it was escalating. We knew that, maybe somebody got pepper sprayed or something like that. And more police were coming in to keep that street open to, have that communication. And I was able to set up a command structure early on before the incident escalated. So when it did escalate, it was just, okay, we're going to the next step.
Right. We have a plan in place. It's not just craziness.
We basically had a plan in place, and the training that we all did together paid off, and the relationship building, because maybe the first several years I didn't know a lot of the police, but now we know them all first name basis. We invite them over for the Super Bowls. We invite them over for the holidays to come in and, be with our family and to get to know each other.
Sit in those nice recliners you guys got.
Sit in those nice recliners. Yeah. Pull your car in the station and hide it.
There you go. There's payoffs either way.
Right. That never happened. Come on.
Yeah.
The police, it's nice. So you bring a dish to pass and they're like, what can we get at 7-Eleven on Christmas?
Right. You guys are making like eggs and these full breakfasts, and I show up with a bag full of frozen burritos from 7-Eleven. I'm like, hey, can I use your microwave? And then can I use your bathroom? You guys cool if I use those guys always love when you use their bathroom.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But the funny thing is that John's talking about, just from the police perspective on this side, like, he's not just saying stuff that is random. This legitimately in my own life is some of the same things. One of the things, the first person that I ever knew that was relieved of their position because of what was considered excessive force wasn't a cop. It was a firefighter, and he was dealing with a mental health patient that we had in custody that immediately started using the buzzwords that she needed to use to get out of, the felony flu type stuff. So, all right, well, she's saying she's going to kill herself, so we got to call the medics over. And the medics are like, yeah, we love these calls. Yeah. So we get there, and she starts up with the fireman because she thinks that the fireman's a cop and she can do whatever. Right. And this fireman had been around for a while. I'm not, I'm paraphrasing and I'm protecting the innocent here. And it got, a little out of hand, tickling the Sally Port, whatever. He had to put her down. Like John talked about, we got to get you on the gurney so we can get you to where you need to be. It's 2:00 in the freaking morning. He probably had a full shift, all that pressure that John was talking about. He just pushed her down onto that. And later on, it came to light that she felt it was excessive or whatever. The fire side, I'm going to tell you this. The police side, that would have taken months to resolve. The fire side, that guy was gone within weeks. Like 2 weeks, that guy was relieved of his position. Yeah. And it was like, I was like, wow, man, this guy doesn't even get a break. We didn't even ask what's going on. Is that a leadership
problem?
Yeah. So, it definitely was. It was.
At what point are you standing up for your guys too? I mean, there's a line and you don't want to cross the line, but you got to stand up for your guys too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then one of the most dangerous things I ever did in my career, the element that I was in to deal with an active shooter, and I don't talk about it a lot because it is what it is. But 2/3 of our element were firefighters, were people that were paramedics, TEMS medics that were part of our SWAT team, that I was so proud to have them with me. And people don't understand, when you're doing something of that nature and you realize, hey, man, this could be it. This is what they signed me up for, and I'm good to go. Knowing the fact that I have first level care there for me at that level if something were to happen, because the TEMS medics would say to us, we are here for the mission. The mission is you to stop this from happening. We will take care of you before we take care of anybody else. I know like civilians hear that and they go, well, whatever. But if I have to stop someone from killing people, which is what we had to do, having medics there with me to deal with it. They were the first contact for the patients that we came across, the people that have been deceased. They did some own exfilling of their own officers, but the same sense, like having those people with you from that mindset. Those people are literally like in a place in my heart that I, like to the level of family at this point, and I don't see them very much. But John's point that you don't understand, like that idea of like camaraderie that hardship brings for you. And the fact of the matter is, it's just a year and a half prior, we had introduced medics after knowing them, like John said, knowing who they were, but never ever including, like, they made the SWAT team. The single greatest thing that we ever got was, all these things was like Bearcats, better weapons, all better gear, better plates, all this other shit. TEMS medics, by far, the single best thing we ever got in SWAT world, in my experience, was when those people came on board, and I can't thank them all enough. They were great. The command structure, what they taught us about command and control, communication, how we could do things better and smarter than we were doing them, immeasurable.
Yeah. Even in my other career, since I retired, and not since I retired, but even before I retired, I've been in the communications industry. And so I've been able to help a lot of public safety agencies, police and fire, with their communications. But the big push that we're in, not big push, but one of the other customer bases that we have are our schools. Not only our schools, but the school bus transportation also, and helping them with communications. And all the schools pretty much have, especially the middle and high schools, have police officers in them, and helping them bridge that communication with their staff and giving them tools to be interoperable with each other, and even think about what their command structure is. It's been pretty fun to work with some of the school districts to bring that knowledge from public safety into there. Because again, the same thing, they're like, oh, we need an emergency channel to go to in the schools. I'm like, you're not going to change channels. You operate like the police. Your emergency is on channel.
Turn it on and talk.
You got to stay on the channel you're on. You're not going to get a bunch of teachers and school professionals, and they are professionals. So I'm not speaking ill of them. We can't get the police to change channel. We're not going to get teachers to change channels,
especially in a moment like that.
Yeah, the incident stays on the channel that it's on, and we move. Everybody else moves, which is kind of how the fire department does it when there's a mayday. Our normal operation is to change to a fireground channel, but when we have a mayday event, now that's not normal. So we keep the mayday event on the channel that it was originally on, and everybody else moves. And so, Shaun, you're talking about the greatest tools. You got Bearcats and guns and weapons. That's for you to do your job and for everything to go right. And there's going to be casualties probably, but when something goes wrong, that's where the Thames medics are there to help you and to give you that reassurance, to give you one less thing in the back of your mind, so you can go in and focus on the task at hand.
We started out with some spiritual aspect of it. And I used to say to him, I envision you guys with wings. That's all you are. I mean, like, you're taking me to the place I need to go, or you're keeping me from getting there. And either way, it was
unless
just
your car's got us blocked in. But other than that,
there's a little bit of resentment. Like, they might kneel on my leg a little longer to stop the bleed than they need to, or something like that, to kind of get me back. But
you wrote my wife a ticket.
Right. Oh God, anybody do that? You're asking for it now if you do that. But I mean, again, it was like something that it took the longest time. Like it's like if I'm saying this in the male sense of like the brotherhood. Obviously, there's females doing both work right now, but the brotherhood of that was just like your first rival was always your brother. Like if you had a brother in your life, he was the first rival that would take it to you, but he was doing it to you because he cared about you. He cared about you in the way that men care about each other, in that stupid put you down, but I'm going to pick you back up way. And that's what the fire service was. Like when you didn't know them, like all they would do is get out of their trucks and be like, back in innocent days when we, had fires and houses burned, and that's what they had to really worry about, not somebody shooting at them and everything else. And they'd get in your shit about where you parked. You'd be like, who the fuck is this guy telling me where to park? And then you'd look and be like, oh, it's a fire hydrant. I shouldn't park there. But that was like it. And then it was beyond that. You just didn't really interact with them. There's guys here, they're like, I hang out with the guys at the firehouse. And you're like, so you interact with lepers? That's how we treated them. You know what I mean? That's how we all looked at each other. But it became completely different near the end there. And that rivalry, I think, is something that we need to keep alive, because it helps us push each other to where it is, and we can kind of learn from each other and learn that level of respect. And where I worked, to be honest, in Illinois, I thought that the setup was great. We had our self-contained medics. There wasn't another separate service like I have here in the South. All of that is extra coordination that you got to have. And if it's all kind of contained with a guy with a white helmet on and he shows up in that element, there's something to look for, to work with. And it took a little bit. I mean, we were definitely banging heads on a lot of things, like John said. But from the police side, I'm just going to say, from training and things like that, they had us beat on all of that. They were better trainers. They were better about like getting the resources that you need to effectively train. They were better about understanding what the role was. Like a police officer, hey, you come in there, here's the better way to use a tourniquet. Here's the thing you're thinking about. They really changed our world, I think, for the better, for the public. For sure. To be honest with you.
I think we learned so much because we had all the time to sit in the firehouse and watch cops on TV. So that's how we learned how to interact with the guys.
Look how dumb that motherfucker is. Look at that guy. Look at crazy guy.
Well, and I want to share a quick story that really highlights John's level of commitment to public service, both inside and outside of work. Much like everybody jokes about cops, that we're always sizing everybody up all the time and sitting with our backs to the door and everything. So even though John and I didn't work in the same city, we were remember these days, John, the Country Thunder days, the big country concert up in Wisconsin. And we're right. And John's an RV guy like me too. So we had we had our group up there, and we were up there for the concert, and there was like 4 couples, and 3 of them were public safety people, cops and firemen. And so here we come back, we've been out all day and, definitely enjoying ourselves. And we get back to our little camp, it's probably, our little compound.
Yeah, right.
And, we've been having a good time for sure. And all of a sudden we look over, and under the front of one of the fifth wheels, this girl is laying there, like a young girl, probably in her early 20s, like passed out. And we did a double take, like, holy shit. I mean, granted, there's lots of young people there that are smashed, but like this girl is passed out, and just happens to be laying like on the corner of where we're at. So me and John and the other cop friend of ours that was with us, like, had a moment of clarity and ran over and like checking on this girl. And is she all right? Is she awake? I mean, obviously we've come to find that she's just extremely drunk and got ditched by her friends, but she's got no ID on her, no nothing, no phone. And so we wound up waving down. They have like these roving little like medic units driving like the gators, going around. We found somebody, and we get her up and get her in a chair. Like to Shaun's reference, we found a chair with wheels and put her in a chair with wheels.
Right.
But
they're also called wheelchairs.
Yeah, right. We put her in a chair and give her some water, and she's kind of like, but she has no idea where she's at, where her friends are at, or whatever. But we gave her a basic level of care there until these roving paramedics came. So, I mean, we still laugh about that today. And honestly, if it had maybe not been so, if it was us, somebody else would have been going through her pockets and leaving her laying there. But
yeah, right.
We really formed a bond that day, John. It was great.
We did.
Still talking about
that. And one of our friends was not from public safety. He's like in business, and he's like, "Oh my God, did you guys? I thought she was dead. Did you touch a dead body? How do you do that?"
You're ritually unclean for 7 days. We got everything right.
Yeah. He's just standing there like wide-eyed staring, and we're actually like doing stuff to try to make sure this girl's okay.
Well, I think that's what's going to be hard. When do you take that hat off? You know what I mean? You're kind of always a first responder, right? Or a public safety professional. And even in retirement, I mean, it hasn't happened yet. I'm sure it will, but there'll be I guess we call it duty to act. And I imagine that all of us would, so.
Yeah, I don't think that ever goes away, honestly. It might change, you know what I mean? And you're more conscious of like what you're getting yourself involved in, but the nature of that, I don't think that ever leaves. I think you have that. That's why you had that for 25, 30 years, you know what I mean? And it never fades completely.
Yeah.
So tell us now, speaking of retirement, now that you've joined that club, tell everybody about what you're doing now with the radio. And I know you've been doing it for a long time, but fill people in a little bit more on what you got going now.
Well, I guess thanks. As you know, being a fireman, they all have a side job of some sort, right? Some of it could be Thames guy or training. Some guys are carpenters or plumbers.
Yeah.
Tile work,
sell cars, whatever.
I know a guy does tile work.
I got a guy. We all got a guy. But when I got hired, I was already working for the business that I work for now, and it was, hey, why don't we try and do this? Like, why do you got to quit? Why don't you just try and do it on your days off? And so. Literally for like 26 years, I had 2 full-time jobs, so, so that's what, retirement's kind of nice because now I just have 1 full-time job. ABEEP LLC, that's our company, and Digitalk Solutions. And we sell communication systems and radios for public safety around the greater Chicagoland area. And then we have our nationwide LTE system. We actually have dealers across the country, and we sell radios into schools and, nationwide radio coverage, kind of like the old Nextel, where it just works everywhere. We're actually picking up a lot of use from some of our police customers, using them as a secondary radio, not as maybe their primary to dispatch, but special teams and groups and things like that are using them for private stuff because it can all be encrypted and things along those lines. But it's a lot of fun to continue to bring solutions forward to all of our customers, and it helps. I think it helps that transition into normal life. Where I'm still around the firehouse and around the police and things like that a lot. So it's been,
it makes that transition a little easier. I mean, that's kind of like me now, but it's that same kind of thing. Like you're adjacent to it. You're not doing it, but you're still, and I think it helps too with retirement. It kind of helps you with that like uncertainty because you don't really know what it's going to be like when you retire until you're actually done. And then it's like, okay, now what am I doing? Because this is the same thing like you. This is what I've done for 30 years. Now all of a sudden, I just do something different. But can you go ahead and plug the business again and tell everybody like how to contact you, the website, any details that you want to give out?
Well, we're rolling out a new website here in the very near future. It's being worked on right now. But Digitalk Solutions is DIGA-TALK Solutions.com will get you to us, or abeep.com. So in the 90s, pagers were really cool. And the phone book was the big deal. And that's how the word A-beep came up, because it put us at the top of the phone book. But it was, we were pioneers, we were innovators. And,
Seriously.
And then the internet came out. So
you got any pagers left over?
On the radio. We do. Actually, well, we still sell fire pagers. So
look at that! Wow, look at that!
I want one of those clear purple pagers.
Yeah.
Right.
Those were sweet.
Right.
Nice.
Get you your pager and your cell phone. You're either a drug dealer or a cop,
right?
Or a doctor.
and if I put the numbers 911 after my text, that means it's super important. You got to get a hold of me right away.
That's right.
People wouldn't even know what that means anymore. So.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on. Can I still call you Chief? Is that because you're Battalion Chief? Can I refer to you as Chief?
Yeah.
Is that cool? How many horns is that?
He makes his wife do that too.
How many horns is that for rank? Like, or was I used to love like the rank structure that they had.
Yeah. So lieutenant was one bugle, and then battalion chief for us was two bugles that are crossed. So
yeah, you really had to pay attention. Like, who's this guy? And they were like, look at the horns. You're fucking up, dude. You're talking shit to a boss.
The more horns they have, the better.
Yeah, right. like the stars on our side, right?
The more horns you got, the tighter the collar got around their neck and cut off the circulation to the brain sometimes. With all due respect to all my chief friends out there.
Right, with all due respect. I said with all due respect.
Well, anytime there's an incident involving firefighters, we would definitely love to have you back, Chief. Like, hey, what happened here? What do you think? What your thoughts are? Because you obviously just flow here. It's great, like talking with you. It's not, anything other than familiarity to us, even though I never worked with you on the street on a level, but it's like, it was great just reminiscing and making you feel good about some of the better times you had on the job. You know what I mean? So
we did meet a long time ago, though.
We did, huh? No, you were. You know what? My wife said to me. I said, "Hey, who's going to be on the show? A buddy of Scott's." I go, "Do you know them?" And she's like, "He used to be our son's Cub Scout master or something." I'm like, I was like, "What? This is like
look at
60
that
years of separation. This is we." Yeah, Brendan,
going
that's
way
right.
back.
Yeah,
Going way back.
Going way.
See,
look
at
way
that.
Back. So
just so you know, John, Brendan is not an Eagle Scout, so you just know. I want you to know.
It's no fault of yours, John. It's okay.
Yeah, it's no fault of yours.
It's all my fault.
You set him on the right path. It was like
we had a lot of kids that did make it all the way through from that program. Probably one of the largest groups from a den that did. But I think that I'm sure that he still finds some value in some of the foundational things that we.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Started there. At least
I never got past Weebelos.
Well.
Right.
Was it
Weebelos? I never even got in. We never even got in because we had a reputation. This was back in the 70s that we cursed too much as kids. They didn't even accept us.
Right.
We were screened out before we even got there.
Somehow Scott and I made it in.
Right.
You're way smoother than me, that's for sure.
Just like that.
Good times. All right.
There was an incident real quick. We just recently had a line of duty death in Chicago at the Chicago Fire Department. Mike Altman fell through a floor in a fire. And talking about the way police and fire work together, there's already been an arrest made and arson and murder charges being brought forward. So it certainly doesn't make it any easier for that family. And we keep that family in our thoughts and prayers, obviously, every day as the funeral services are coming up this week. But and again, another important way police and fire work together for each other. So
absolutely.
Hopefully that brings them some peace, their family some peace.
All right. Well, thank you, John. And
thanks, guys.
Like Shaun said, we will see you the next time we get some kind of
every time
crazy fire-related thing or something.
Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Man,
or I have to ask you how to change the channel on my radio. We will have you come on and have you do a
too many buttons.
Do a tutorial. So, thanks again, buddy. All right.
Thanks, guys.